DMP episode 17. Al, how we doing?
We're doing good, man. Coming down the stretch for the Warriors, so excited to get some playoff ball next week. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Good, man. An exciting win last night. Pulled it out against the Jazz. So they're playing the Suns right now. Hopefully they can get that one out too and look forward to the play-in. But enough about that. Today we have a very special guest joining us, a good friend of ours, CCS champion, the head coach of the Archbishop Riordan Crusader varsity basketball team, none other than Joey Curtin. Joe, thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Anytime. How's everything going, man? How you been dealing with the pandemic? I know it shook a lot of things up. How are things?
Man, it really did. And speaking just from a basketball point of view, right? From a Riordan basketball point of view, when the pandemic hit, we were the first school, I think maybe one of the first two schools. We were playing in the state playoffs, right? So we were the number one seed in Division One. So how they do it now is they kind of just rank every team in Northern California, and then they kind of bracket you from there, right? So just go down the bracket, go down the rankings, and then bracket. So we ended up being the number one seed in Division One, and we had won our first two games. So we were in the quarterfinals, semifinals actually, and then we were about to tip off against De La Salle at home, and they pulled us off the court, and they said, "Joe, can you come to the athletic director's office? Something happened." And so this is just when we just were hearing about coronavirus. Like it wasn't really, it's kind of like, what is it? What's going on?
It was new.
Serious? Yeah. It's March 7th, 2020. And they said, we're going to postpone your game. We got to call a parent of a student at the school might have this coronavirus. And so we just want to be careful. Make sure none of your kids had classes with him. Something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to move the game to Monday. This was a Saturday. And they never rescheduled that game, obviously. It just never happened. Yeah. From that moment forward, it kind of blew up. That was the week it kind of just took off. Mm-hmm. And so, there was a, real chance. And in my heart, I knew that we were going to go to the state championship that Friday. Like, there was just in my mind, I'm like, we're going to go to Golden One Center. We're going to play at the state championship game, and we'll see what happens. Like, it'll be a great game. And we're rolling. And as a coach, you've been around it for a while. As a player, I played in the state championship game my senior year, like at Riordan. Like, I just knew, like, you just had this feeling like, okay, this team is destined,
Special.
Yeah, it's just a moment. Sometimes you get to the end of the season, you're like, my team just has too many flaws that we just couldn't overcome, and it is what it is. And doesn't mean we'd had a bad year, but this team was special. It had a lot of talent. It just, all the stars kind of lined up. We were going to play at home the whole playoffs, right? Like, and you know how a Riordan home playoff game gets. Like,
yes, sir.
The crowd's crazy. The band's crazy. Like, it was jumping. Like, there's no way someone's going to come into our house and beat us there. There's just no way.
Yeah, no chance.
And so that put a wrap on that. And that was tough. That was tough because we had a very senior heavy team, and they were done with their high school career just like that. And so, yeah, that led into, not playing the whole summer, getting to the fall, same thing. And we're here now in the middle of basketball season in May. And it's
so weird.
Bizarre. Yeah.
I must say that team, like, we saw you guys play a couple times, and for the amount of high school basketball I watched, that was one of the most, like, fun I've ever seen a group of guys have on the floor. Like, It felt like the high school games you see on TV. The crowd was rocking. Every kid was just smiling on his face. Like I said, that was like front of the row seats. You need to watch these games because you guys had fun out there. It was so fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And that was one thing that I always tried to preach. Like, I told myself, I think we kind of had similar high school, like, type of coaching and, like, careers kind of. And one thing that I always wanted was I wanted them to have fun. I didn't want it to be a drag, and I didn't want it to be like where the end of the season you were like, wow, I'm so glad the season's over. Like I'm done,
Yeah.
What was us?
And and
I
I've
know it all
seen
too
it
well.
happen. Yeah, I've seen it happen, and it's horrible. Like I was like, when I'm a coach, I'm never gonna do that. I just told myself that. Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna let these guys have fun. Like I want them to have fun playing a game. And look, same thing I tell my teams. Like losing is not fun to me. There's nothing fun about losing. So we're gonna do everything we can do. We're gonna prepare. We're gonna work hard. We're gonna do everything in our power. We do all those things. We're not gonna lose. Okay, I promise you that. So it'll be fun, and we'll take care of that stuff to make sure you have an enjoyable high school career and experience.
Totally, man. And like I've always said, you mentioned it, nothing is more fun than winning. Like
Yeah.
I played on a team with your brother when we were juniors, and we were the epitome of the name of this podcast. We did not play, and we won so much. We had so much fucking fun.
Yeah,
The next year, like we played a lot more. We weren't winning. We didn't have as much fun.
not as
Like
much fun. Yeah, it's not.
nothing is a substitute for winning.
Yeah, and I think as long as and when you have a team like that, team was like you're kind of like your perfect kind of high school team. Your typical like really good high school team where who the best player is, who the second best player is, and everybody else better do your job and fall in line and just like it's clear as day.
Yeah.
Last year, my team, we just had a lot of talented player. Like who is really the best player? Like what role do you feel? I should be a starter. I'm not a starter. It's a lot of ego when you're coaching a lot of talent. There's a lot of ego there. It's really about buy-in, coaching personalities. Um, it's much harder to coach a team full of talent than a team without talent. It's just much harder.
There's so much more baggage involved with it.
Yeah.
Just like you mentioned, trying to balance everything, trying to make sure everybody's happy. Yeah, it's tough.
Especially during the social media days. Like you
Yeah,
can just
we'll get
search
into
people. Yeah, we'll get into that, but that's the one that I'm just like blown away at. But
Yeah,
Keeping everyone happy is hard. You're not going to do it all the time. You just want to make sure that they understand that what you're doing is for them. It's for the team. It's for the school. It's for something bigger than yourself. As long as you can get them to get to that place mentally, you'll be okay. There'll be some times where they'll be upset they didn't play as much as they should have. And I said, I told them I feel like that all the time. I understand where you're coming from. But I try to be as transparent as possible with them and kind of explain to them why this is happening, what we can do to make it different for yourself or not, and I think that kind of settles things.
Absolutely. That's all you really can ask for as a
Yeah.
player, transparency. But man, let's start from the beginning. Like we really want to kind of dig in and basically like where did your love for, because if anybody knows you, you have a lot of passion, a lot of love for basketball. Like you could see it from a mile away, whether you're playing with you, against you, coaching with you or against you. Like where did it start? When did you fall in love with the game of basketball?
I started playing basketball when I was in third grade, and I was always around the gym because my mom was a volleyball coach for our elementary school. So I was always in the gym all the time. Every day I was in the gym. And so I just picked up a basketball. I played baseball obviously when I was younger, and then I played basketball, and I just, for some reason, I loved it. And I remember vividly, like when I fell really in love with it. We were on a camping trip, summertime, and we went to Manteca water slides, which do not exist anymore. I don't know if you guys ever been there.
up in Sacramento,
It was
Or the
like up that,
Cali-
yeah. It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
and we rented like a like a mobile home thing. We parked there, and then we just went to the water slides for the whole weekend and everything. But I remember there was a little TV in there, a black and white TV, and we got the NBA finals, and it was Michael Jordan against the Portland Trailblazers, right?
Okay.
1992, 91, 92 season.
Yep.
And I remember watching the game on that black and white, and I was like, yo, this is amazing. And I think it was the game where he hit 6 threes in the half or whatever it was.
Yep.
And I said,
Gave the
okay.
shrug.
Yeah, he hit the shrug, and I'm watching the shrug, and I'm going, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
this is incredible. What am I you know, like, and I've watched the
Absolutely.
World Series, you know, I'd watched baseball, like, but when I saw that game, I said, he hit the shrug, and I said, oh my God, like, this is my sport, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the moment where I was just like, okay, I'm all in. I'm all in on basketball. And then from there, I just, you know, I played on, I was lucky to play on really good teams. Like when I was in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, like coming up in the city, you know, I played at Upper Noe. That was my park. Like we played in the park and rec leagues. There was no real AAU kind of club scene back then. It was very limited, very, very limited. So we kind of made our own, you know, with our park and rec team. And man, that was just the best time. You know, that's when I fell in love with the game. My coach was crazy, you know, back in the day, like, but he made us better. Like he made us care about winning and getting better as players. And that was it, man. After that, it was a wrap.
Yeah. There's something about that time in your life, like that age group where it really like you're doing it solely for the purpose of having fun. So
Yeah.
there's nothing else like it. At some point, like of course you still love the game, but there's more work involved. At that point, it's a lot of just having a good time, having fun, trying to emulate what you see on TV.
Yes.
It's the best.
Yes. And that was a big part of it too, trying to emulate what you saw. And I think now kids are lucky to have YouTube. They have so much access to all this stuff. You know, back in the day, we were just waiting for that John Tesh tune to come on or whatever, you know, the guy's name was. And then NBA on NBC would come on. We'd have the marquee game, the morning game, then the afternoon game. And like we would have to wait for that. And then luckily I got to watch the Warriors a lot when we're on TMC. So, you know, I got some good basketball, you know, exposure. And for some reason, I don't know why I just picked it up, but you know, because my dad is not really, he didn't play basketball really growing up. And I think my mom probably had more to do with it just because we were in the gym all the time. And hey, it was like free babysitting, like go into the side and shoot on the hoop. And that was it.
Absolutely. Love that. You mentioned before, like being able to play on a bunch of great teams. You mentioned the state championship run that you went on your senior year in 01. You were able to play with some unbelievable players and Marquise Cately, John Tofey. Those were the games that I grew up going to. So like I remember my buddy's uncle was a coach somewhere at Riordan. I don't remember what he coached, Marco Flores. And he was like, hop in my car. We're going to watch Riordan. We would follow you guys to Bellarmine. We'd go all over to watch that team. It was incredible. Do you ever take from those experiences and those times and kind of like try to motivate your guys or try to not compare, but let them know, like, I've been here, I know what this is like, and try to relate?
I don't really, to be honest. I
Mhm.
don't. I don't think it resonates as much as you think it would.
Gen Z.
For me, it's about, I think what resonates with them is more about what you show them every day. Like the one thing that I will try to do is I try to like put them up on like Riordan basketball history, and like that's very important because it puts you in puts it in perspective of there's been a lot of great players. Like, do you want to be one? There's been a lot of great teams. Do you want to be one? And they don't really like, it doesn't, you know, just to get them to think about that, I think is a big thing in today's culture. Like, you know, it's always about, you know, guys in the past. And I don't want to sound like an old head, like, you know, this guy's, you know, I'm not like that. Like today's players are much more skilled than we were growing up.
Sure.
They lack other things, but they're better at other things. You know, it's like, but pretty much they're the same. You know, they're the same when you were like, they're the same kind of kid. You know, it's just you have to adapt with the times. And so I don't really harken back to those times that much. I mean, John Tofey probably will, because He has a state championship ring, and it's easy to
that's
show
right.
off. The only thing I'll do is I'll just be like, you want to. It's nice when I walk in the gym and I see my year in the rafters, right?
Yeah.
That's always a nice feeling. It never gets old. So I want you to have that feeling. So the only things that I really expressed to them about the old times is like, it felt so great to do this with my friends, to do this with my classmates and my team. I want you to feel that same thing. And was great for the school. That's what I try to tell them. Like it was great for everybody involved, like the band kids, the kids coming to the games in the stands. What was great to me is we had your version was at the games this past year, where the little kid was in the front row. I saw these little kids following us, the Bellarmine and all this stuff. I'm going, this is amazing. That's so awesome. That's why we want to put a great product on the floor. That's fun to watch. Look, we can win playing super slow, grinded out basketball. We could win that way if we teach that way and drill that way. It's not the way I want to win. I want to put on a show for people. I want it to be fun. I want it to be dunks and speed and athleticism. Like that's the style we want to play. That's the way we're going to play, and we're going to win this way.
That's a great. I love that too. So, who are some of your like influences from a coaching perspective? Like, I have a few that come to mind that play like coaches that want to like play fast, play fun, but also like be disciplined. Like, who do you like? Who's some of your guys that you've always sort of studied and try to implement in your process?
Yeah, that's a good question. Man, I kind of take from so many, like I would say let's say like Don Nelson with the small ball, right? Like that was amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. I was thinking about doing that way back in the day, right? Like when you knew me, like when I just started coaching, like I'm like, let's play this way. Like, I don't think I've ever told a guy to like stop shooting, which is like the opposite of how we grew up, probably like don't take that shot kind of thing. Like, I don't think I've ever said that because I trained them to shoot that, right? So I want them to be confident. So, something, seeing that, right? But seeing also, Pat Riley is kind of like my guy, like if I had to pick one from the OG ranks, I would say Pat Riley, just because Showtime Lakers, I know he flipped the script and was like bully ball in the 90s. Like, but what he built in Miami, look what he's built in Miami, right? Like, so I would say Pat Riley's is probably the guy that I kind of look up to the most, and how he came up.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a great person to have on your Mount Rushmore for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, talk about dynasties, like you said, Lakers and Miami. It's crazy. All that guy does is win.
Yeah,
good person to look up to.
And you have to go by your personality too, right? Like, you can't. I'm not going to say Greg Popovich because I don't think or talk or act like Greg Popovich. Like it's not.
Your teams don't play like that.
Yeah, they don't play like that, right? Like it doesn't work for me. Not to say he's not one of the all-time greats. He's on Mount Rushmore, of course. Like,
right.
Or like, and Phil Jackson, I like Phil Jackson a lot because, the triangle is great, like all that stuff. And just the way he kind of tapped into the team spirit, right? I think that was amazing.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I those kind of things I kind of draw right from a few things. There was a year where we just meditated every day. Like we'd go into the locker room before games and I would turn off all the lights and we would do like a meditation before every game. Why did I do that? Because I'm like, dude, this team needs it. They're like nervous. Like I don't want them to feel nervous during, before a game. And so I said, I think I just read Sacred Hoops or something. And I was like, we're just going to meditate, and it worked. I mean, it worked. We played great.
And man, that's what great coaches do. They see a deficiency or they see what their players are lacking. And that's what you coach do. You don't just be stubborn and do your own thing.
No, I've always adapted. Like it's been crazy for me. Like since I took over the program, like we've had like distinctly different teams.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just run like a system, like where you're just running the same stuff every year, blah, blah, blah. Like I couldn't do that. Yeah. My team last year I had 7-1, 6-10, 6-8, 6-8, 6-7, 6-6 on a high school team.
Crazy, dude.
It's kind of hard to coach that size because you're like,
Yeah.
the game is played with guards. Like the game is played spread out. The game, like how I want to play, like how the modern game is played
Mhm.
with 3 balls. Like you can't. What am I gonna do? I have huge, this huge roster. Like, so I
Yeah.
had to adapt. I was pulling out stuff from my like early 2000s, like 90s playbook. Like
I love that.
I was like, I never thought I would use this again, but we had to, right? So and kind of tweak it.
And it worked.
Yes,
Big
it
time.
worked. Yeah.
Well, I think me and Alex know this, but for the people that don't know, like, how did you get your foot in the door coaching? If you could maybe shed some light on that, because it's a pretty interesting thing. Some people have a passion, but don't really know how to get in there and actually go after it and do it. So what was your kind of start?
Yeah. So I always wanted to be a coach. Like I just knew I wanted to be a coach. I was always like a captain on the team. I was just like an extension of the coach when I was playing. So when I graduated from Riordan, I kind of started coaching a little bit my brother's CYO team. So what happened was I was just kind of like training him and Andrew Colville like on my own because I was like, I don't want you guys to suck when you go to Riordan.
You're my guy.
Like,
You're
I
my
want you
guys.
guys
You're
to
not
be
gonna.
Yeah, my brother can't be whack.
Yeah, and I was like, you guys have to be good. So,
Yeah.
we would go to Mission Rec, we would go to Upper Noe, we would shoot, we would just, and then so when they got into like middle school, I started coaching their team, their CYO team. So that's how I started
Okay.
with me and Big Jamal Ball, another Riordan Crusader.
Big
So
ball.
we started coaching that team, and then when I was at USF, Coach Forzen called me and he goes, "Hey, do you want to be the freshman coach?" And I said, "I can't. Like, I'm still in school. Like, I just can't do it.
It's a
I'm
commitment.
working. Yeah, I'm working. I'm going to school. There's no way I can do it." I said, "But I'll after I graduate, I would love to." And so in the meantime, though, I was just kind of like, if he needed me to scout for him, I would go scout. Like, I'd film some games. I'd hang around. I'd try to come to practices whenever I could, and kind of get in that way, right? So I kind of already knew. And with Coach Forsland, he was very like detail oriented, right? He's very meticulous. He was scouting, like like most high school coaches weren't even doing that back then, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of got to see that side of it a little bit more. And then when he stepped down, actually, he actually didn't come back. And Rich Buckner took over. He called me and said, "Hey, do you still want to coach? You've been around. Like, do you want to get into this?" And I said, "Yeah." And so that was it.
One of the best things that ever happened, man. We loved being on that team when you were on the staff. It was damn near the perfect yin and yang. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. It was so fun. And I'm not, like that time, and it was and I was young, I was in my early 20s, right? So,
Yeah.
because this is going to be my 14th year at Riordan.
That's
Right?
crazy
So,
to think about, dude.
yeah. And then I had those 2 years when I was kind of just like in the mix, but I wasn't really on staff, right? So I was just kind of part-time, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I just will never forget my first varsity head coaching. Like I got thrust into it, as an injection from Coach Buckner. And I'm like, okay, I got to coach you guys.
Yep.
And we're down in LA and we're playing these teams. We have no clue who they are, and they got some pretty good players. And man, it was awesome. But I got my first win down there. So that's cool.
I remember that was our senior year. We were going to bring that up.
Do you remember there was one part, how like Coach Buck got ejected? Do you remember the other side who got ejected from that side?
Because this is a fun story that you need to be telling.
Got ejected from the other team?
Yeah.
Correct.
So that was first of all, that was like our only win of the tournament. And
that
it was
we
a
looked at
dog fight with Calabasas.
Yes. That was a great game. It was Mark Jackson's son, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So the person who got thrown out on the other side was not little Mark Jackson, Mark Jackson's mom. So his son's grandmother, she was talking big shit to the ref and he tossed her.
Grandma got ejected that game too.
Yep.
And I remember I was like, this game is wild. We actually came back.
Yeah.
That game.
Mhm.
Did we win the next game?
No, we lost.
Okay.
No,
We were
we
looking at
actually had
the-
to look it up. It was
Yeah, we were
close.
looking up the
we
records
won
last
that
year.
game, came back and won that game, and then the next game we lost. But I think we were in it. I'm not sure.
We were riding high and we had some good momentum.
Yes, we did.
You took over at the right time for
we
sure.
did. We had some good momentum. We fell a bit short, but it was like proud. It was like still proud. Like, hey, we almost got 2 in a row here.
Yeah, exactly. For that,
I mean,
for
that
that
was
team, that
a-
was overachieving.
Yeah,
That was
so
a highlight of
that
the
was
season.
awesome.
Man.
And
Like,
I remember what I remember from that game is we had I don't know why I thought of it, but we had a nice little strategy. We were pressing.
I remember.
Okay. And then we would press back into a zone, and then we would press back into a man, and we would press back into a zone, and I would just throw up. If I throw up 2, we're pressing back
yep.
into 2. And I remember like the other team was so frustrated.
Yep.
And they had a guy going to USC, I think.
Yeah, I remember that. The blonde kid with the curly hair.
Yeah.
I did a little flopping to get him teed up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think
athletic, right? Like
Danny called him a
we just
curly
threw
headed
him off,
fuck and
I
he
think.
got teed up.
And I think we just threw him off, and we just had it was a nice little win there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fun, man. We still have that memory. We were talking before what we wanted to talk about, and we both brought that up. That was amazing. But back to your time when you were kind of helping out Forsland and doing mostly like video type stuff. I know you, so I know that probably back then you were plotting and you had in your mind, if you were to get that job one day, what things you wanted to do, what things you would change.
Yeah.
So do you have any of those things today that in your mind when you were that 23, 24-year-old kid filming for the Varsity that you wanted to do for the program? Are there any things that you're using today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think as I matured, I think what I learned is what not to do and what to do, right? Like, so I took yes, I like that. Yes, I know I do not like that, right? I took a lot of that, and then I said, now what else can I do, right? So the one thing for me is like I never wanted to, like, during that time, I never wanted to ever be not good, right? So like we had good teams, and then we would have a bad team.
Yeah.
And then we would have another bad team and an okay team, and then we'd have a good team, and then we'd have a bad team. I said, no. I said, if I ever have this job, we're going to be good every year.
Yes.
Like maybe one year will be great, and then the next year will be great, and maybe next year will be good, and then but I'll tell you one thing, we're never going to be bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that was the one thing that I said I was going to do. Like, I was like, if this ever happens, like I'm for sure never letting that happen. Right. Other thing I wanted to do was during that time, I always thought like, man, I just hate that we can't have a good freshman team, right? Like, that was big for me. Like, I'm looking at all these other programs and they have winning records, basically all 4 levels, or, JV and varsity are really good, or freshmen and varsity are really good. Right. And so I said to myself, well, I'm going to have a good freshman team. Like I'm going to have a good, so,
Yeah.
and I did, we won the first freshman championships we've had since I was a freshman in 1997.
Damn, that's crazy to think about.
We won both A and B last year. And we went 42-2 at the freshman level.
Damn.
So
That's how you set the tone.
So that was the plan. Like that's always been the plan, and it came to fruition. And I think if we would have had a full JV season this year, I think we would have won the JV title this year.
Yeah.
So, that kind of plotting and like thinking big picture, long-term stuff. And one thing I always said, going back to the beginning, was one thing I will do is I will make sure that my guys play fun brand of basketball and that we play an athletic way, and I always believe that. And we did it. We've done it.
Love that.
I think implementing that sort of like farm system from the freshman level is key, because then you have all 4 years of guys fully on board with the program and seeing like people in their class, shine at the JV level, at the varsity level. And it just sort of like works its way down as everybody wants to be on board, like succeed. And I mean,
Yeah.
it starts at the top, but like the freshman team is where you got to start building that foundation. And I think when we were going through high school and in earlier days, I don't know if that was as like prioritized in the program. So it's really awesome to see.
Yeah. And one thing is like I'm like at all the freshman tryouts.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, wow.
I said I would never ignore or neglect the lower levels. I will literally coach a freshman practice, multiple.
That's big.
So I will coach the varsity team, and then I will stay, or I will be there early, make sure I do the freshman, then I do the varsity. Or I've done the same thing with JV, where I'm like, I'm going to stay late and I'm going to coach the whole JV practice, and I'm going to get, help the JV coach to kind of set the tone and kind of make sure that these guys know I know who they are. Like,
Yep.
I don't ever want to feel like, I don't know about you, but there's times where it's like, there's no way the varsity coach knows who I am, right? Like,
For sure.
Unless you're like an older brother.
Worried about winning his games, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's fine, but like that's not what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I cared about them too, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted them to win too and learn and become better and all that. Oh, and the last thing I would say, the most important thing that I thought of when I was thinking about all this stuff when I was in my 20s and all that was I never wanted to let a guy be who had a chance to play at the next level. I never wanted to let him fall through the cracks.
Mm.
Like I was like, we're going to do whatever we can in our power to make sure that his academics are right. We have a plan for him. He knows what it takes, what is necessary and required to play at the next level. And we're going to put him on that plan to make that happen. So I don't want to see a guy that could definitely play and have a bunch of Division I offers have to go to City College. Like that was the big thing for me. Like I'm ending that shit. Like that's over. Like
Yep.
I'm not doing that anymore. Now, sometimes it makes sense to do that. That's all good.
Sure.
But with me, I'm not doing that. Like we are going to have our guys' grades right. We're going to have them take the SAT. We're going to have them get them tutors. We're going to do everything in our power to set these guys up for life going forward. I don't want to waste this opportunity for them. That's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that they take advantage of that opportunity. And we've done that. That's something that I'm most proud of is that we've done that.
Absolutely. And that's the big difference between just being a coach and being the head of a program who really cares about, you know what I mean, what everybody's doing. And that's huge. So
we have our study halls, we have our, we do our grade checks, like we do all of that stuff. And I always said, if I'm going to take the job, I'm going to give it my best effort. Like, because I was them. Like, I know that I was that person. Like I wore that jersey. Went to the locker room. I walked those halls, all these kids I know from back in the day where I know I wish I could have done more for. Like, if I'm in that position of power, I'm going to use it. I'm going to do my best.
absolutely.
Hey man, the track record show in the couple of seasons you've been coaching. So It's amazing to see what you're doing. Going back to the last season, I think that was sort of like, you mentioned it, like you had aspirations for state. It got short. One of the things that like I noticed was like we were the first, or you guys were like the first school in the city to really get like locked down from COVID. What was it like telling the team? Like, how did you have to break the news to them? And like, did you still sort of work with them throughout the lockdown period, or was it kind of just like closed book and let's look at college from there?
Yeah, it was kind of brutal, to tell them, just because it was just so sudden, it was so random. It was just killer. And the guy, and what made it worse too, Al, was that they let De La Salle move on and play
That's
another
right.
game.
They did.
And then that game got played, and then that was the NorCal champion. And then the next day, everything got canceled. And I'm like, you can't be the NorCal champion. You didn't play the number 1 seed. Like, we didn't get eliminated. We didn't get beat. You have to go through us to get there, right? Like, that's just how I
Playing
thought.
on our court.
So, yeah, I'm like, so that was the part that hurt. Like, they let them keep playing, and then another game got played, and they said, "Oh, we're the champ." I'm like, no, man, like that was BS. Like that was the part that kind of got everybody. It didn't make it easier,
Yeah, man.
And so after that, everyone was kind of home. right? We didn't get to have a celebration with a WCL title. We didn't get any of that, and winning 23 games and having a great, like we didn't get to get any love for that. And that, I think that hurt them the most.
Totally.
Absolutely. I don't know if you watched the newest season of Last Chance U. It's they did a basketball team this year. It was JC, and it was kind of a similar arc path where they were really the favorites to go all the way, and then they filmed the coach kind of letting the guys know, like, Corona took it this year. We can't move on. So I could only imagine
That's brutal. Yeah,
how
same
it was
thing.
to break the news. Yep.
I can't, it's been that part was tough. And then I haven't seen them since,
Right.
Yeah, man, that sucks.
like the graduation it wasn't really a graduation. You just picked up your diploma in a car and left.
They missed a whole milestone in life. Can't
Yeah.
get it back. It's a bummer. But touching on last season again, I think it was the most viral Riordan ever went during the senior game. Dominic Stevens. I think most people know the story, but if not, he was your team manager, correct? Was it for all 4 years at his Riordan career? He was your team manager?
Junior year and senior year, yeah.
Okay. And I don't know, I haven't actually talked to you about this, but what I read was that you and him made a bet. Is this true? That if he was able to get into basketball shape, you were going to let him suit up for the senior game. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So he cheaply came to me and was like, Coach, is it possible to get a jersey and play in a game? And I said, I mean, you saw the team, right? So
yeah. How many D1 players you have?
Yeah, I'm like, wait a second. I said, wait, so to play in a real game, like, not? He's like, yeah, like I was just hoping that I could do it if it's possible. And I said, are you sure you want to do this? Like, I thought it was strange because I'm like, do you want to get thrown out there? Like,
best league in Northern California.
Yeah. And I'm like, we're playing really good teams, like, and so he's like, no, it's like my dream, whatever. Right. And I said, I'll tell you what, if you go with Coach Jones every day in the weight room and you work out every day, you cannot miss a day unless Coach Jones tells you to miss the day for rest. I will let you put on a jersey. You got a uniform, and hopefully by senior night, you'll be in shape and you can get in. Okay. This is what I told him. He said, I'll do it. I said, are you committed to this? He said, yes, I will do it. So I called in Ryan and I said, hey, Ryan, this is what we're going to do with D-Steez. And he goes, are you sure? And I said, yes. And he goes, all right. I said, and you tell me if he doesn't show up. If you have a 6 a.m. workout and he doesn't show up, you tell me. He goes, okay. And D-Steez went to every single workout.
That's amazing.
And he dropped like 20 something pounds.
Oh, damn. It was that much?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Damn.
And he went crazy in the weight room, right? Like he really, and then not only that, but he was coming in the mornings and shooting.
Well, that explains a lot.
Double days, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, I couldn't believe it, really. I was like, he really went all in on this. And I was getting videos at 6:30 in the morning, of him shooting and stuff. And I said, hey, he's putting in the work, right?
Yep.
And so he got that jersey and he got the warm-up hoodie and he got to go out there senior night against Sacred Heart Cathedral. And mind you, we had to win this game to tie for first place, right?
Yep.
So it was a big game.
Yeah, big.
And it got tight. The game got tight for a little bit. And I saw him and he was looking so nervous, like, oh my God, am I going to get a chance to get in? Because I know we have to win this game. But I called a timeout and guys were like, Coach, you're going to put in D-Steez? And I had to like stop them. And I had to be like, look, you guys better get on it.
Right.
And start blowing this team out so this man can get in the game.
Yeah, this is in your hands.
And it was like all they needed to hear. Like, it wasn't about like, get the ball to the post, get the ball. Like, it wasn't about anything like that. It was like, yo, do you want these D's to get in? Everyone was like, yes. I said, well, then you better start D'ing up and you better start scoring and you better start running. And they went on a crazy run. And so the crowd is going, we want these, we want these. And I kind of was playing it up a little bit in the moment. So like I kind of looked at the crowd and they had his face on the placard, like on the sticks.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and they're like, yeah. And they like go crazy. And then I didn't put him in yet, because I knew I wasn't going to put him in yet, but I was just kind of playing it up.
You gotta build the crowd up.
Yeah, I was building them up. And then finally I said, all right, check in. And then after that, I did not expect any of that. Right. I just thought he was going to get in and run this 2 minutes out and we're going to be done. Co-champs WCAL, let's go on to the playoffs, and then he splashed those threes, dude, and it was just bananas.
Sports Center, Bleacher Report,
insane.
I was getting texts from buddies that were like, hey, didn't you go to Riordan? Like, look at Twitter right now. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Millions of views. Yeah.
Millions of views.
And so, I had people calling me and telling me that was the greatest sports moment they've ever witnessed. I had moms crying like after the game to me, like
I'm sure your mom was crying, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, come on.
It was like I had, people coming up to me like, I can't believe you're the coach that's on that clip and this and like, and I'm like, yeah. It was just wild. It was wild. And but you know what? That showed the team, like you said, how much fun they had. They weren't like, no, don't let him play. Like, what are you talking? They were like, yes, let's do it. Like, we're going to go on a 20-0 run. So he make sure he gets in. Like,
yep.
And I wasn't going to say no because I could have easily said no, right? Like, no, you're the team manager. We have 13 players on the team that need to play. I could have done that. But, knowing the kid and knowing, the team and everything, like, it was the right thing to do. And then he made the most out of it. That's for sure.
He really did. That was the fact that he came in and hit back-to-back threes and like you said, Matt, like that's the stuff you see on like Sports Center, and the fact that it hit Sports Center and blew up like that, just
wild.
And like that's the stuff that like you change lives with that.
Travel on him, and I don't think it should have been called. He should have had 8 points.
They called like a shuffle on his feet, right?
Yeah. But I was like, I don't know. Like I think he got off.
Just
and then he tried to take a charge, and that could have been a charge. Like I was like, he could have had some.
Yeah, some real highlights.
Yeah.
Good for him, man. Well, a lot of people are saying that who knows, maybe this could be made into a movie. So I want to know, me and Alex know the answer. Who's playing Coach Joey in the movie? You know the answer.
Leonardo DiCaprio. No doubt.
Easy.
Answer.
Hands down. And Colville?
Oscar get another best actor Oscar. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Colville, who's the best supporting?
Oh, who would play that?
That's a tough one.
Oh, who would play that? You know what I'll go with? I'll go with Matt Damon.
Oh,
they work off each other well.
Matt Damon.
Yep. He gets jacked.
I'll give him an A-list guy.
There you go. That's nice. Shout out to Colville. Love that.
For real. Like he's like I was telling my family, he's just a perfect assistant coach for me, like just my right hand man, been there from the get-go,
from the jump.
Shows up, does his job, does what like he's just the most hilarious guy ever. Like,
yep,
he's great.
Yeah, we loved Andrew. All right, well, we were talking about kind of how the season got cut short. COVID kind of robbed you guys of your state title run, all this stuff, right? But it really spilled into this year. It's May and you guys are just restarting your season. So in a normal year, if for those who don't know, like high school basketball starts in May for summer league, and you play all the way and you play open gym in the fall, and then you start practices in October?
Yeah.
Usually. And preseason starts in November, December, and then you're playing league in January. So with all that big chunk of time, without being able to get your group together and practice and all that, like what have you been able to do to supplement that time and kind of get your guys together, get them going, keeping them in shape? Like, has there been anything to substitute?
Yeah. So, what I did is I kind of set up my own club team, and I just said, look, man, we don't get to practice. We don't have a gym. Like we haven't had by the time we had our first practice in the gym, it had been over a year since we'd been in the gym.
Damn.
So I said, we haven't had a gym. I don't, all this stuff, guys, luckily my guys are really self-motivated. They figure stuff out on their own. Trainers are now, prevalent nowadays. Like everyone has their own basketball trainer. So they were getting out with them. And, but I said, let's go play in some tournaments, cause the rest of the country was playing.
Yeah.
Like they've been playing and AAU's been going. Right. So I said, I'm not going to just sit here at home, and have my guys were like depressed. They were, yearning to be back in school and with their team. And it was hard, man, for a while, just to see them like, Coach, are we going to have a season? Are we going to have a season? What are we doing? Are we going to get back in the gym? And I had to keep saying, like, I don't know, like, I really don't know. So we went out and played. We traveled and played in some tournaments, and I'm just really happy we got to do that. Like I just wasn't going to sit back and just let them not play basketball together for a year. Like I just wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sit back and like take the year off, so to speak. Like I'm not built like that, that. And we're just going to go out there and grind, and we're going to go play some teams. We're going to go play club teams wherever we can find them.
Yeah.
And we did, and we beat them. And, we were really good. So that was the crazy part, is like for a moment, I was thinking to myself, like, we actually could have been better this year than last year.
That's wild to think about.
Yeah. Like we could have been better, and it would have been hard to do, but there was a chance for that to happen. And, so obviously some things didn't, fall into place. Right. We didn't start when we were supposed to start, all this stuff. And some guys like transferred and all this other stuff. So it didn't really come to fruition the way I thought it would. But yeah, that was a real possibility. And so what sucks about that is that I think we are a potential state championship team again. Like we could have been that again. And how often does that happen, back-to-back years, right?
Not since 0102 probably.
Yeah. 20 years, right? So to have that kind of not be able to happen again sucks, because instead of, it'd be nice if you were talking to me and I said, oh yeah, this is the state championship ring, right, that we won last year. It makes a big difference, right? It's a big milestone. And to not have that opportunity again when you have that high of a caliber team, that sucks.
Yeah, for sure. Got robbed. But yeah, like this year's team, you guys probably have, I mean, I don't know the team too well, but arguably I would imagine you probably have eventually 3, 4, 5 D1 players on this team. And I know that the program has changed a lot, where you have had a lot of college coaches reaching out to you, coming to practices, really scouting these talented players. So like, what has that been like? Have you been able to kind of take that upon yourself to make those connections and fill that void?
Yeah, that's a different part of the job that you don't really realize until you have these caliber players, right?
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother job in and of itself. It's like ridiculous. Like most of my phone calls are college coaches calling me. Like usually we just text everyone right nowadays, like, but my calls are from college coaches, And so it's a trip, that world, the recruiting world, how it all shakes out. You have to be up on, viewing events, right? You have to now you have connections with AAU programs and say, hey, this kid should play here so he can get seen and he can get exposure and this and this and that. And connections with the college coaches that, are recruiting your kid, but maybe they might be interested in another kid down the line in 2 years, and you're sending them video, it's really something. And like, hey, you used to coach at, Gonzaga, right? Yes. Do you know the assistant there? I think this kid would be great for it's a lot of that.
A lot of networking.
Yes. And that's been a big thing. And so you're networking at the D1 level, at the D2 level, D3 level, JUCO, national JUCO level, which is new, and the prep school level, which is new for me. Like, so now, like, we sent a couple of kids to prep school last year, right?
Oh yeah, I saw one kid went to Spire, right, where LaMelo played.
So like that's a thing now. Like that was something that I had to get. Oh, the head coach at Spire, and it's just building that network, and I think the bigger prospects you have, the network grows, so it goes even more complicated. That's been interesting for sure. And I think I know why a lot of high school coaches tap out, because that's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility too. Because there's some times where I was like, especially during this time when there was no AU, there was no exposure events, right?
Mhm.
D1 coaches could not come to my gym. D1 coaches could not sit at a facility and watch a dozen games and kind of figure out who's good and who's not. Like we had to call, and then the transfer portal was going bananas, right? And they got an extra year of eligibility, all these NCAA players. So the number of scholarship was slashed tremendously. So like you could be a senior, supposed to graduate, and you say, actually, I'm going to opt in. I'm going to come back. And that coach has that coach thought he was having that scholarship freed up for a high school kid, and guess what? He's not.
That didn't even cross my mind.
He's taking back the
So it's
senior.
been incredibly hard. The most difficult recruiting year in the history of NCAA basketball, right?
Yeah.
And so that has been another challenge. And we only have 2 seniors on the team this year. One of them got a Division I scholarship.
Yeah, Robert, right?
Prep school. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
And you know what? If we weren't at all those tournaments, we didn't have that game film for him that I could send to college coaches, that, which is what happened. He's at City, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. Because he just committed to Fresno State, right?
State, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a distinct possibility. Like that was a reality.
Yeah.
And that's why
I'm sure that motivated you, right?
What's that?
That motivated you to.
That's why I was like, I'm not sitting here at home. Let's go. Like, let's figure it out. Like,
love that.
I mean, it's just great to see, like, you're running it like a college program. Like you have, you're making calls. Like I asked the question earlier, but the first thing that comes to mind is like Coach Cal with his guys at Kentucky, like players first, connecting with them. You alluded to it earlier. So like, how are you with us when we played with you and Buck? Like you always had the ability to connect with us. That's the book. Oh, look at that.
Coach Cal. Got it right there on the bookshelf.
That was to the audience, that was a book by Coach Cal. And like that was the first thing that clicked for me. And like Matt and I and you obviously had a connection when you were our assistant coach. Take us through the last decade and how you've been able to sort of evolve with the times, adapt with social media, more talent, more prominence nationally. Like what's working for you? Like, is it just, like you said, just being genuine yourself, or, how are you keeping that connection going?
Yeah. I think it's just being yourself, but also like recognizing, I think because I wasn't a star player, I'm like able to like tap into even like the non-star players, right? But I can I want to keep them motivated too, because I know how important they are. And so everyone has an importance. And so like I hate the term role player, because everybody has a role anyway. Like Yvonne Dorsey's role is to shoot 30 times. Like we needed that from him, right? Like that was his role. It just happened to be his role, right? But everyone, but that wasn't his role before. 2 years ago, he had a different role that was very important too. So, that kind of stuff, like, I think to me, it was always like, what do we have to do to make sure that we win? And I know that winning involves so many players that it doesn't show up in the box score. Like just being a monster at practice leads to the win the next night. It just does. And I knew that. I always knew that. And so I also always believed in like the player that we're getting is not the end result. So I've had guys who said they can't shoot, and then I've coached them, and then they're like, now they can shoot. And I'm like, yeah, you were told you were a non-shooter. You're not. You just didn't get good coaching on shooting, or like you didn't shoot enough, or someone didn't believe in you, or like, whatever it is. Like, and I said to myself, like, I'm just not going to be that coach. I'm not going to be just say, hey, this guy sucks. Like, I'm not going to deal with him. I'm not going to do that. Sometimes I have to pull myself back. Like, I'm spending too much time with the guy who's going to play 3 minutes. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm like, okay, like I got to talk to the guy who's going to play 30, right? Like a little bit more. But that's just my personality. Like I want everybody to eat. Like I don't want just like that's just me. Like I want all my friends to be successful. I want all my family to be successful. I want everybody at Riordan to feel like they're part of a success story. And so I'm just going to take them up with me as much as I can.
Right.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
that's amazing. And even the players, like, I mean, we're happy. We're talking about stuff in the Raptors. Like we see the 08, 09 CCS, and like we played probably collective 20 minutes on the season, and we feel like we did it. So like for your teams now,
I was a part of that.
So
Oh, yeah.
like for your teams now, the players who might not be playing, 30 minutes, they still feel like they're involved. They still feel like they contributed to a, WCL championship, CCS championship, hopefully a state championship.
As they
And, like,
should, though, as they
absolutely.
should, because you have to remember, like, when you guys were running scout team all those times, like
Mhm.
Al, you were the shooter on the scout team, like,
Yeah.
you were the guy running off this double staggers and doing all this stuff. Like, if you weren't good at that, and you didn't make shots and make those guys guard the way they should be guard, like that's a perfect example. You know, if you didn't do your role and you weren't a star in your role at that time, who knows? Maybe we lose. Maybe we lose one of those CCS games, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it just, but to not like acknowledge that for you, like that would not be me. Like I would be like, no, you've actually helped us win this game. Like, like you may not think you're as important as Daniel Cannon, but you share an importance, bro. Like, like it's very, very important what you do.
Totally.
Absolutely. Got to touch everybody.
Yes.
Well, we got a couple more things before we wrap up. We know you're a busy man. We want to get you out of here, but we got a few team superlatives. So we're gonna say a couple things, and the first player on your team that comes to your mind, that's who it is. So, class clown, the Andrew Colville Award. Who is that on
my current team?
Current team this year?
Oh, the problem is we have too many of them.
Yep.
Class clown award, probably Lee Hubbard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Vocal leader. Who's your guy out there?
Vocal leader. We don't, that's one thing that I wish I had a little bit more of, but I would say one guy who's growing into that role well, I would say is Robert.
Oh, okay. Nice. That's good to have at the next level.
Yeah, for sure. And you want your senior to be kind of that vocal leader. It just makes it easier. And it also helps when they're good.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody's looking to him. So that, last one, who's a team DJ? Who's playing the music in the locker room and on the buses and stuff?
Well, we haven't had a locker room or bus this year.
Oh, that's right.
We have our first bus trip on Saturday to Bishop O'Dowd.
Nice.
So in the past, I'm trying to think who it was. Oh man, it was probably Bryce last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, I'd probably say it'd probably be Lee this year. It's one of the seniors. They always kind of take over.
Yeah,
of course. Love that. Okay, and then we got the DNP questionnaire. It's just a few questions we ask our guests just to get a little bit about your basketball history and just know a little bit more about you. So, what's your favorite pair of shoes all time to hoop in? Of all time.
Oh, to hoop in?
Strictly to hoop.
Oh man, this is a good one. I would probably say some like, I'd probably say some Kobe's. So,
mine too.
I mean, there's like several of them that are really good to hoop in. Like,
he had that stretch where he was just bringing out
heat.
Yeah,
like
stretch was
08 to like 2012.
Yeah. Especially when he went to the lows.
Yeah,
he was really killing it.
Like when he first shifted over to the lows, I was like, okay, it's over.
Yep.
Like
they were light.
Yep. Yeah. Light, grippy, the best.
Yeah.
And
those Kobe's were the ones.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. Before that, I'd probably say before Kobe's, I'd probably say Man, no Jays. Jays were never
No.
that good to hoop in.
Yeah, not to hoop it.
What were you rocking on the on Riordan Vars back in 01?
I was rocking some retro 11s though.
You know what? I remember being a kid in the gym looking at the NorCal championship, and who was the kid in the fucking 11s? And it was
Yeah.
Joey Curtin.
Because
that
I
was a
knew
flex.
I knew, yeah. So like I wouldn't practice in those, right? I was practicing some other stuff, obviously, but the game night I would rock the 11s.
Yep.
And because I knew I wasn't gonna play that many minutes anyway, so I was like, I could rock 5 minutes in
look fly
11,
at least.
like no problem.
Yeah, my warm
I
ups,
had
I'm
to play
gonna be the
20
hottest
or
dude.
something. Nah, bro, I'm not doing it. But,
For sure.
but yeah, I could do 5 minutes in the 11s.
I love that.
Yeah.
Who was like your guy growing up? Who was your favorite hooper to watch?
Oh man, I mean, besides MJ,
Yeah.
oh dude, I loved Penny.
Penny. Love
Penny
that.
was my guy, dude. Like
Penny was
I thought
tough.
he was. That's why I wore number 1.
Oh, okay.
That's why because Penny. Yep.
Love that.
Yep. Penny was
All right.
amazing.
So if you get the aux cord, you get one song to put on.
Mhm.
What are you choosing?
Is this for warm up or what is
This
it?
could be for anything. If you're in the whip, if it's for warm up, if you're
wow.
you know what I mean? Usually
So-
if it's for a group of people, right, Al?
If you're at a party and somehow the aux cord gets in your hand, what are you putting on to get it going?
See, I'm more of a mellow dude. I mean, I like it all, right? I like all the music, but
Yeah.
but my natural like lane, I'd probably put on, like, let's say you're at my house, right? And we're just opening some scotch and chilling and people are coming over and it's my birthday or something. Ooh, I might put on Gorgeous by Kanye West.
Oh, there you go.
Set the mood right.
That'll get you going.
Yeah.
Just run that whole album.
Yeah. But I would
Front to
start there
back.
and just have it shuffle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love that. I remember trips going to different gyms in the back of your car. You always had Kanye on. It was a fun
Back
car
in
to
the
be in.
Lexus.
Yep.
We had a good we had
Infiniti.
good drives to these summer tournaments and all this other stuff, and those are
Yep.
always fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. So last thing before we get out of here, every chance you get on Twitter, you love to troll me with Jordan Poole. I want to say the last one that you sent me I got receipts, was in December of 2020. You tweeted to me, he will be out of the league when his contract is up. And here we are.
We got one more year left, right?
In May of 2021. And JP is up to 11 points a game. He's getting kind of a role on this team. He's shooting better percentage from the 3 and from the field. I just want to know what your updated scouting report on him is, or do you still believe after next year he's gone?
I will say this: he has gotten better. He's only doing it against the lottery teams. It's bizarre. Like he goes off on the lottery.
He does.
It's the dude that when we play Cap has 20, but when we play Bellarmine can't score. You know? It's that dude. Like, oh, did you see him though? He was killing El Camino, and then we play Midian. Dude is 3 turnovers, 0 for 2. Missed 2 free throws.
He's quiet.
Yeah,
right.
He's that guy. So they picked up his option, so we know he's going to be in the league for one more year at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ends up in China.
What?
Yeah. I mean,
He's rocking the jersey.
I hope not. Like, I really hope he proves me wrong, because I don't want us to waste a first round pick on that.
Yeah.
Right.
He just can't guard.
Yeah, I mean, he's still growing into his grown man body.
And I just don't like. I hope he keeps getting better. He's young, right? How old is he?
Yeah, he's 21, I think.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we'll give him time. But I just don't. He scared me with that rookie year.
Yeah,
that was ugly.
I mean, it was ugly. He got thrown in quick.
Yeah, that was ugly.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all.
So but I give him props, bro. He's gotten better. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not a big fat negative out there anymore. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. Al, you got anything else?
How we doing on Poku watch? The dude from the Thunder.
He's not doing anything, right?
I haven't tapped
I
him.
think he's out for the season. He's hurt or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. How are we gonna watch him? That guy was
Buns.
such a joke.
He is
Yeah.
buns. I don't care what Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer says. I don't care what any of those dudes say.
Yeah.
No way.
I've
He's
never
gonna
seen a
start.
7-footer look like he's 6'3" out there. He looks like
Great way to put it.
He
undersized.
wants to play like he's 6'3".
Yeah.
So I'm like, so who is he going to guard?
Nobody.
He's getting crossed.
Yeah, he's getting destroyed. I'm like, no way. Yeah, but I think, what? So I would have to say, who is your favorite player then? My Penny Hardaway question.
To us.
Yeah. What do you think?
So we did this on our first episode. So mine is Jason Williams,
Oh, okay.
White
AI.
Chocolate, and AB was AI.
Oh man, AI was my favorite college player.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
At
And then,
Georgetown.
the shoes I chose were the pro models.
Oh yeah, super comfy.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
And I
cushion
had
that was crazy.
Right.
They were grippy too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
those were
first time you
something
get
else.
some like
Danny
patent leather
Wrangler.
shoes. Yeah.
I remember he only rocked pro models.
Pro models,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
sponsored by
black ones.
Adidas. And mine were the Kobe threes, the shoe right before he went to the low top. Remember, they kind of looked like the Stephs. They were like the waffle johns.
Oh yeah, those.
Those were my
I
shit.
remember those. I remember.
Yeah,
I never wore those. I can't tell you if they were good.
Oh, they were great. Those were the lightest shoe I ever had in my life.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
The
those are
lightest
really-
shoe I ever had were these old Steve Nashes, like the Nikes. These Nikes.
Oh,
They were crazy light, like almost like dangerously light. No support kind of thing.
insane.
They were
Yeah.
so I loved them. I was like, my feet felt like
Mhm.
they just had a strap. I don't like they had like a little bit of laces and then they had a little strap. Oh, those things were crazy. They fell apart fast, but
I was gonna say.
those
and
weren't
the
built to
Hirachis.
last.
I was gonna say Hirachis would probably be
Hirachis.
on there too. The first Hirachis.
Were those
Those,
2K4s?
Yeah.
2K4s were
2K4s.
nice.
Yeah, those were
The
hot.
little- The little top strap.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah.
Those are nice. The top
Absolutely.
trap. Yep. I had a couple pair of those.
Yeah, those were tight. But yeah, man, I think that's pretty much everything we had for you. We appreciate you coming on. This was awesome. Appreciate your time. And we would love to have you back when mock draft season gets here. We want to have Coach Curtin's
Dude, this is gonna be great.
yeah, we'll do a draft pod if you're down.
Yes, that's it. That's awesome. Let's do it. Love,
Perfect.
likes, and hates.
Yes.
We'll,
We'll get you ready.
The first live recording of it.
Yes.
Right on.
Perfect.
All right.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you,
Thank you,
Joe.
Joe.
Appreciate it. Once again,
Yep.
Joey Curtin, coach of Riordan Crusaders. Good luck this season, man. We'll be watching. And we'll be keeping track.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the time, man. Take it easy.
Yep.
Thanks again, dude.